I'm Peter, and this is the Tarot Table with Bonnie and Peter, where we lay the cards on the table and talk about life, tarot, and everything in between. So shuffle your deck, pull up a chair, and join us at the Tarot Table. Hi, everyone. I'm Peter, and welcome to the Tarot Table with Bonnie and Peter. In today's episode, we're going to follow a theme that we've been doing through a few episodes, and we're going to talk about the fours in the minor arcana. So I got to start out by saying I love the fours in the minor arcana because they represent stability and security. And I think, we were talking a few episodes ago about the astrology in my chart. So I have moon in Cancer. So maybe my moon in Cancer likes that idea of security. Our fours are about structure. They're about conformity. They're about foundation. And I think what I like about them is that theme is pretty easy to spot in all of the fours. Mm-hmm. There's almost a slowness and they're quite methodical. Like fours are, even the Four of Wands doesn't move fast. Like the fours are, almost say the fours are like the stop sign or maybe the yield sign of the minor arcana. So I don't know. Bonnie, to me, I think the fours are straightforward. I don't have anything more to say other than that. Have you got anything to add at all?
No, exactly that. Like building a solid foundation. Yeah. Like the fours, you think about a table has four legs generally, or chair, and that's stable, something that's stable. So it really does, it's not a difficult card to interpret in the tarot. For me, I lack a lot of structure in my life. If I look at my,
so you don't like,
I know I'm giving it all away, Peter. If we look at my numbers from a numerological perspective, I don't have a lot of fours. There's five, a lot of change, and but I need boundaries, I need stability, I need routine, I need organization. So I feel the fours, and my husband is very much a four. So when I see a four, it's kind of funny because you start to associate personalities with numbers or certain cards. And my husband's the Emperor, and he's the number 4 all the way. So
I'm glad you mentioned the Emperor, because even with the majors, right, the Emperor is a great example. Sorry, a great example.
Yeah, no, I just the fours are not a difficult suit for me to interpret, just because I need to embody the energy of the four, and the four is stability, right? Like we can be as creative as we want to be, but until we have some boundaries to create within, our creativity can't go anywhere. So the fours definitely set that foundation.
And it's one of the reasons why I think in the major arcana that the Empress and the Emperor, the concept of creation, and abundance, it sits with the threes, and then the idea of structure and boundaries, it sits with the four, are often talked about being that perfect personification of the outward pair of, I know they use sometimes parent leadership, but the two halves that combine to create that whole is really, really a good example. So I'm glad you mentioned the Emperor, because I think we've had an on again, off again. We talk about the aces of the twos. Sometimes we've mentioned the major arcana, sometimes we haven't. But the structure and conformity, which is another kind of forward, really does sit inside the land of the Emperor. Yeah.
So you want to dive in with the wands, the Four of Wands?
We'll dive in with the Four of Wands. And I had kind of said, the Four of Wands is an interesting card because, and I'm going to hold it up for those who are watching on YouTube, because it seems that the structure itself comes from the Four Wands. And, the Four of Wands can be about almost containing the fire. So, I think about, and one of my favorite iterations of the card actually has a fire that is surrounded by four stones. So
Mm.
I find it's in the Four of Wands that passion receives boundaries, that
Mm.
our outward fire like energy, whether it's initiation, whether it's creativity, whether it's spark, whether it's ingenuity, starts to experience structure. And I think those kinds of energies like structure because, as you had mentioned, sometimes when we don't have that structure, we kind of flounder, right? We want boundaries. And
Mm.
the card again, the image, and I'll hold it up a second time for the people who are watching, those who aren't. The background actually shows people that look more like the Three of Cups. They look like they are people in a celebration, but they appear to be celebrating inside a set structure. So often the image is seen somebody celebrating a wedding or or a party, some kind of yeah, like they're some kind of covenant, some kind of bond, something that provides a little bit more stability. They're taking that fiery passion and placing it inside a container of some kind. So I don't know that's what I've got as far as
The
the
Four of
Four of
Wands.
Wands go. How about you?
Yeah, I love that idea of structure within the Four of Wands, but also the idea of celebration. So when I see the Four of Wands, I think about celebrating how far you've come. So we're still, we're almost halfway in the
Yeah.
journey of whatever it is that we're doing, but we've already made some progress. We talked about the Three of Wands of, being prepared and the potential for opportunity, like we're ready for it. So now in the four, it's like, okay, let's celebrate where we're at this point. And we're probably at a point of stability to be like, okay, I see some progress, I see some success. Let's come together and celebrate that. But again, it could be like the celebration of a wedding. But again, that takes planning. So you're at the point now where you've planned the wedding and you're celebrating this occasion. It could be a graduation party. It could be a birthday. I have one deck of cards. I think it's the Tarot of the Abyss, if I'm not mistaken. She's blowing out a birthday cake.
Yeah.
So it's actually showing her, the four wands are the candles on the cake.
Mm.
So I love that. I really enjoy seeing the Four of Wands. It's about coming together in celebration. But if it's not about a celebration, then it could be about like take a moment, reflect on how far you've already come on this journey and celebrate the small wins, even if it's just where you are now or you're at a place where you're stable. It's okay to celebrate that. And quite often, we don't allow ourselves to enjoy life or enjoy those small things. Everything always has to be this big victory. So I think it's a reminder to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes it's a reminder as well um, to add structure to those things to that fire energy as well. And you talked about, a graduation, a wedding, a birthday party. I love the idea of the cake because, in some ways it's like it's providing structure, it's holding up the fire in the body of a cake, and
Mhm.
then what do we do? We we make a wish usually when we blow them out. So it's sort of pausing, well, what do I have right now? Let me celebrate the moment. And then let me think about, well, what do I want in that journey sort of moving forward? Cups. Or no, let's take a look at a practical aspect, sorry, for the Four of
For the,
Wands.
you know what I'm probably going to say? I'm making these so obvious, I think sometimes. And then I come up with ideas later on. I would say, yeah, if you want to plan something or there's something that you're working on and you want to celebrate that win, like that small win, intentionally pull that Four of Wands and see what energy you can embody from that card to allow yourself to enjoy the moment, right? It could also be about like being present in this moment. Like we do have a sense of stability and a sense of security. There's this solid foundation. Let's celebrate this moment where we are. So if you have a hard time being able to let go and yeah, like relishing in that, success that you've gotten so far. It's okay to celebrate these milestones along the way. So I would say pull that Four of Wands and see what energy that invokes for you or
Yeah,
evokes. Is it invoke or evoke? I
not
guess
sure.
evoke.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just made up a word.
Yeah, I would use it in a very similar way. Um,
Mm.
and I would suggest just to be different instead of using the card, I might use the element itself. So what
Mm.
I might do is I might grab four candles, for example, or if I had a fire pit of some kind, then I might perhaps put four wands, four sticks
Mm.
kind of surrounding the fire pit. And I would do that
It's like a
at
Lord of the Flies moment.
well, funny you mentioned that, but I'm privileged enough to live with some space, not a ton, but I live in a town, but I've got a little bit of space. And about 6 or 7 years ago, I built a fire pit in the
Mm.
yard, and the 4 points of the fire pit point exactly to north, south, east, and west. So, I mean, I call it a
Oh.
ritual pit so that we know that when we go there, if I go there, or if Kelly and I go there, we know that whatever we're doing, we can honor, north, south, east, and west, and whatever happens to kind of be attached to it. So, I often think of the fire energy, of course, with the suit of wands, because what that does is it really causes us to contemplate. As much as fire moves, we are also
Mm.
mesmerized by fire. So honoring that point where it's like, as to talk about what you had said about the Four of Wands, is saying, you know what, I've come this far. I know I know I have steps in the journey still to take, but I'm going to take this moment. I'm going to light four candles. I'm going to light four tea lights, or I'm going to light a fire, and I'm going to, in some way, recognize that number four as the container that is kind of causing me to stop right here, to pause right here, to reflect right here, and to be mesmerized by that moment. So
That's
that's
so
my
great.
suggestion.
So again, I'm going to give out some more information about myself. My husband loves fire,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
he just loves to burn things. He loves bonfires. My kids love they're always like, let's have a fire. And
There's
I'm like,
power in fire. There is
there
power
is.
there.
And I
It's
I
yeah.
have this I don't know, this resistance to being close. Like I do. I'm mesmerized by the fire. I like to look at it. I think I'm afraid of all those, getting burned, right? Like those little bits that come up and then they fall back down. So I do have this resistance to the fire, but I love that you have the north, south, east, and west
Yeah.
points on because we also have a fire pit in our backyard. And I think that we should name them. And then when the kids are out there by the fire, then that's also kind of a learning moment to be like, hey, which way is north? And then using that. So thank you. Such
Yeah.
great suggestions, Peter.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. And of course, we have a fire permit. So anybody who's, wondering, we have to have a fire permit in our town. And
Yes.
because we live in a relatively old house, it had to obviously be, a certain distance away. And we have a lot of mature trees. So it's in a spot where there's open canopy as well. And we love it. Again, you can get a glimpse of that. You pop onto my Instagram feed. I know that there are pictures
Mm.
of fire and celebration. We often use that space to celebrate with friends, but we have, and I think I posted about it, where we've done some, kind of some ritual work around fire. So that's at the pit in the back, pit at the back.
Hit at the back. That's
All right.
awesome.
So what's
Okay.
next?
Four of Cups.
I love this card.
You do?
I do. I do.
Okay, it'll be interesting to hear your
Yeah.
take on the Four of Cups.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Let's hear yours.
Let's hear mine. Okay. So the Four of Cups, I see this as um I mean, there's so many ways you can look at the Four of Cups. I think that it does have various interpretations. For me, I guess my biggest takeaway is feeling like I'm missing out on an opportunity because I'm focused on something. So generally in the card, someone is focusing on three cups that are in front of them. And then there's a hand or an offering coming from the side offering a fourth cup, but the person doesn't see the fourth cup because they're fixated on the three. And what I think about that is like stagnation or almost like, I don't want to say boredom, but like, what are you focused on that's not really motivating you? Or you're so focused on maybe this feeling of feeling like you're full or you're just done with something, right? Like you're kind of at this point where you're not really motivated and you could be missing out on an opportunity because of where your focus is. So I think that this card is an invitation to sort of step back and see what's being like what's available to you right now that you could be missing because your focus is over here. So where can you broaden that focus to see more? So if that comes up for me, I'm like, okay, I'm missing out on something because I'm fixated on these three cups that are in front of me, and like, what are those cups full of? So again, those are questions that you can ask yourself. Am I just so full that I can't take anymore? Or I'm just not motivated, or I feel bored, or I feel stuck. So an opportunity for sure for like reflection. I think I've mentioned this before, but you could use this as an opportunity to go inwards and do some meditation or see like, how can I get out of this energy of this stagnation? Or yeah, also heard of it as you're going to be presented with a gift. So a gift is coming. So that's, it's like a happy card. Like it's not a bad card. Like you're not in lack of anything, but I just think that you need to broaden your horizon a little or like open the picture up so that you don't miss anything.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I
What
know
would you say?
you're sitting there going, I can't understand why he said, I love this card. And I would interpret it. I don't think there's anything that I would add. Sometimes um, I'll look at the interpretation of what's being focused on as the elements of the Three of Cups themselves. So as opposed to saying,
Mm,
I have three cups that I'm focused on, it's I may be so tied up in the joy and the celebration that I'm missing something. There are
mm,
two cards of the forest that I absolutely love. And it's not so much the interpretation that I love of this card. It's the fact that sometimes and I'm quoting you here in that when you will often say, well, okay, well, this is great information, but what do I do with that? This card screams, turn around,
yeah.
turn around. You're missing something. I like almost every iteration of this card is an invitation to look at something that you have yet to notice. And I guess the reason why I love this card is because in almost any situation, we never have 100% of the information.
Mhm,
And when I had said, these are yield and stop card or stop signs in the minor arcana, this is a great example of us being so kind of driven by our emotions, so focused on the emotion that's in front of us that there's something that we're missing. There's an element of how we're feeling that we're missing, that in
mhm,
the Rider Waite Smith is hiding behind the tree, or is an offering of some kind. I think sometimes it's an offering of a new emotion, of a new way, a new sensation, to quote an excess, great 80s song. Of a new way to feel. It is a card you'd almost alluded to a practical perspective that this is a great card when you talk about entering the tarot, which is an exercise that a lot of people have suggested, including Mary Greer. It is a great card to do that in, to kind
mhm,
of visualize yourself as the person that's sitting down and then thinking about, well, what is so, trying to visualize what are those three cups and what am I missing? And if it doesn't come out of the exercise of visualization, then being more open to to catching the perspective of something that's being missed. So,
mhm,
and you had said as well, it's an invitation, and it is an invitation. And sometimes just the presence of that card makes
mhm.
us just a little bit more aware of what we might be missing. So I think that's why I like it, because it really is a
Yeah.
card that allows that has an almost next step written right into the interpretation of the card. So,
Yeah, like whatever's being offered to you is going to be something wonderful. Like it's
yeah,
not like, oh, I
it's
don't
an
want
Ace of
that
Cups
thing.
offer. My goodness, right?
Exactly. It's like the Ace of Cups that's coming back. Like,
Yeah,
here you go. Here's
yeah,
another blessing for you, but you can't see it because you're looking
right.
at this. So, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a definitely yeah, like it is that hopeful like something is here waiting
Mhm.
for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes we're missing it because, when I was talking about the idea of focusing on the Three of Cups, sometimes we're missing it because we're contemplating times past. Like we're focused on,
Mm,
oh, all these joyous times I had, or this great, wonderful, holiday that I went on that brought me so much
mm.
joy. And, we're stuck in that. And we're, arms crossed, looking down, focused on these joyous moments of celebration that have passed. And we're forgetting the ones that are presenting themselves that could then lead us back down towards the pathway from the Ace of Cups that's coming out of the hand to the Two of Cups and to the Three of Cups again, which gives us a new opportunity for joy and celebration.
Exactly.
Mhm. Yeah.
For sure.
And if you're going to ask me what practical thing I'm going to do with it, I probably already mentioned it around a great one to enter the card. So, and it kind of stole that from as you were talking, but I'm going to do it anyways. With no shame. I'm just
With
going to
no
say,
shame. No, there's no shame here. Yeah, no, yeah, it would be that. I think um intentionally pulling the card and really sitting with it and being like, what could I be missing right now? And then just sort of allowing whatever thoughts come to you about like, well, if I'm so focused on this, what is there potential out there? And that might just bring you a sign, or just sitting with the card, I think,
yeah.
for contemplation for sure.
Yeah, and I probably should have jumped into that one because the next card that we talk about is one where I've actually written about an activity that goes with the card. That I'll get to it.
We're gonna have the same one for this. For
Well,
the
we
next
we totally we totally are. We absolutely are. But for me at least, I'd go back to old blog posts, and it's something I have done with this next card for years and years and years and years. So what?
So do you want to talk about it?
Um, sure. The next card is the Four of Swords. And again, I always think, the image itself is often of somebody who is lying still, three swords hanging over them, sometimes four, often a fourth sword kind of laying on the bed or under the bed or under the platform, wherever they happen to be. Um, Not a lot of ways for me to interpret this card other than the idea of either mental slowness or I had a moment of mental slowness as I was trying to say the word mental slowness or
You're
mental,
embodying the card.
right? Or mental stillness.
Mhm.
The card to me when it shows up almost all the time is an opportunity or an invitation, or a signal that we have to slow down the thought process, that it's asking us to provide structure to our thoughts. So it might also be, one of those opportunities where, in those Three of Swords moments when we were talking in a previous episode about, that level of creativity and our brains are going everywhere, at the Four is saying now's the time to give those thoughts structure. So maybe it's mindfulness through journaling. Maybe it's, quiet mind through meditation. But I think that the Four of Swords, through the image is is a way to actually still the mind. And I actually, when I lived overseas, I lived in Belgium for a couple of years for work, and I was about a 30-minute drive, so probably, I don't know, 30, I might have been 25 kilometers away from an abbey called Villers Abbey. And it was an abbey ruins that I think it was about 12th or 13th century. And in the abbey, in part of the ruins, was this bed that looked exactly like the image in the Rider-Waite Smith Four of Swords, and it drew me, and you could almost, like, the stillness in the space was almost palpable.
Mhm.
I want to say I think I've written about it as well, but I actually think I have a draft of something that I've actually never completed. Talk about the idea of, your brain going everywhere and then having to still it. But you could almost feel the stillness in this space. So if there are listeners here who are in and around the area of Belgium, I lived in Mons or Bergen, and the abbey was called Villers Abbey. They actually have a brewery there. They make their own beer, as monks often do. But you could feel the stillness, like the
Mhm.
energy that you would bring into a place like that. You almost had to quiet your mind because there was almost a mental heaviness to it. So I don't mean to belabor that, but I do think that with this card, it really does invite us to mentally quiet ourselves. So I don't know. That's a lot of words for saying just one or two concepts. Bonnie, what about you?
Yeah, this is my Yoga Nidra card. So I've mentioned before, I like to teach Yoga Nidra, which is a meditation practice, and it's quite traditionally practiced lying down. So when I see this card, I'm like, oh, right. Our invitation to go within and to rest. So again, whatever rest means to you, right? Maybe it's not meditation, but if it's something that you're curious about or something that you practice, again, it's that reminder that we really need to rest. And the only time that we can heal. So if we think about the 3 of Swords, if we're coming off of something where we're needing to heal, um, the only way your body can heal is when you're in a state of relaxation, right? You have to elicit that relaxation response, because if you're in, the stress response all the time, those hormones just keep circulating around in your body, and we need to interrupt that somehow. And the only way is rest. Um, so definitely a call to, yeah, quiet the mind, rest, to again be able to stabilize your thoughts. So, the meditation is not about getting rid of the thoughts, it's about becoming aware of your thoughts, right? So having that stability. Um, I was going to say something and I just completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh, okay. I remember what I was going to say now. It's also, I think it's a bit of a like, because sometimes when people look at the 4 of Swords, they're like, oh, is that guy sleeping? Or,
Yeah.
is he
Or
not
or is he
sleeping?
not sleeping?
Or is he not
In
sleeping?
a
And
permanent
and
sleep.
yeah, I think it's also like you need to rest, because if not, you could really burn out, right? Almost that warning of like you're really being called to do this. So I could also see that as like taking a spa day, or something that's nurturing, and not that nurturing really comes from the swords, but just like really taking care of yourself so that you can sort of escape the mind and what might be going on there. So, and if you're looking for yoga nidra,
Right?
I'll do a plug. You can go to my website and get access to or not a brand new, a free yoga nidra meditation.
There you go.
So that's my yoga nidra card. When I see it, I'm like, oh, time to meditate.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's my practical. If you're going to ask me,
Okay. All
I
right.
would say practice a
Meditation.
meditation practice.
I had
And if you need the help of that, like draw that card to help you embody the, ability to quiet the mind, still the body, and really go within and help with that healing process.
no, I'm going to go one step further because you talk about the idea of stilling the mind, which is, um, I saw a meme a couple of weeks ago and it was like, and it embodies how I approach meditation. It's like, I'm not bad at meditation. I'm just really good at overthinking. Um,
Yes.
and that's me. And I wrote about this. This card actually showed up and was very supportive
Mm,
to me when I had an MRI done, and I think it was 2011, 2012. It was in that range, early stages of my blogging website. I had a fear of a shoulder impingement. So because it was the shoulder, I had to go into the MRI head first and all the way in. And if anybody's ever had an MRI, and I'm not a small guy, I'm sitting inside the tube, and I can't move, but I can also hardly breathe.
mm,
And I have to stay still for what felt like 4 hours, but I think was only about 25 minutes. And I thought I was staying perfectly still. And the technician through the speaker was going, "You need to stay still." And I'd be like, "I am." You need to stay still. You're moving. Every 2 minutes, you're moving. I guess I was twitching and moving.
mm,
And then, of course, I started to panic a little bit and my breathing would change. So I thought I was staying still. But what was happening is I'd be expanding my chest with a big breath, which would cause my shoulder to move.
mm,
So what I did is I visualized this card and I've actually written about
mm,
this process. I think it's on my old website, but I might actually put the blog post up because I have them. And I literally entered the card and I visualized myself as the knight kind of lying on the slab. And it is all I needed. So about 2 or 3 minutes, and I try to feel the cold stone. Like I really worked at using the image to help myself kind of be still, but using an image I knew meant stillness. Because, when somebody says, oh, just follow your thoughts and whatever that happens, I struggle with that for more than just a moment or two. But the visual of the card, and because I've been working with the tarot so long, I knew the card well enough to be able to visualize it in some pretty significant detail. It was amazing as
Mm.
to how much that visual prompt helped me. Didn't help me with language, but it helped me get through the MRI. And then I was able to get it done, and you good end to the story. Nothing wrong with my shoulder. But the technician wouldn't have been able to tell if I hadn't been able to stay still. So just a practical example around, as you become, for those of you who are learning the tarot, you're going to have cards that you're going to become much more familiar with, and that resonate with you much more quickly.
Mhm.
You can use visualization exercises to kind of enter the card and to really draw on the energy of the card itself. And then visualization techniques are things that high performers and athletes use all the time. But I would state you can actually blend that with images that you're familiar with, and if that's the tarot, then so be it. So that would be my practical example, very much in line with what you had talked about. But I mean, you teach meditation. I'm a person who I have been trying for years, and with limited success around a meditative practice. Like I said, I just think I'm really good at overthinking. So I can watch my brain go in all kinds of different directions. But that was very, very helpful. It was a very, very helpful practice. And I will try and pull that blog out and perhaps put it up on my website, because I did find it to be very helpful. So, all right.
Yeah, that's a great story. And there's no wrong ways to meditate, right? So, I think we're going to have a little meditation conversation
That's
right
fine.
now. But right, I
We're
think
still
people
talking
shy.
about the Four of Swords,
We're still
so
talking about the Four of Swords. This could have been an entire episode, I'm sure. But just compassion and grace, right? The first time you try to do something, you may feel like, "Oh, I'm not doing this right," but there really is no wrong way. And the whole purpose of meditation is about awareness, right? You're in control of what you're thinking. So as soon as you're aware of where your thoughts are going, you have a decision. I can either continue thinking these thoughts, or I can think about something. I can concentrate on my breathing, or I could listen to the person who's guiding me, or I could think about being in a place that I really want to go to. So it's really about stabilizing your thoughts in a way that is helping you as opposed to hindering you. Because if we let the mind just go crazy and we're never aware of what that's doing, right? Like,
yeah.
then that's just going to keep happening. But if you become aware of your thoughts, then you have more control over what it is you're thinking about. So never think that you're doing meditation wrong, or that you have to practice for years and you still can't do it. It is a practice. It's like anything. So it's really about being aware of where your thoughts are going. So that's
Your medit. Thank you.
my
Thank you.
meditation minute for you
Excellent.
all.
Excellent. Excellent. Do you want to take us to
Excellent.
the Four of Pentacles?
Four pet. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is the four?
I know we spent a long time on the Four of Swords. The deep
Yes.
dive into the Four of
The
Swords.
deep dive. Yeah. Okay. So the Four of Pentacles is another one. Okay. I'm getting all the, like, you're getting the good ones, and I'm getting,
Am I?
you gave me Four of Cups. Now I have Four of Pentacles. Okay. Again, I think with the Four of Pentacles, this can
I thought
be,
we were just alternating back and forth.
yeah, we were, but somehow I ended up on Cups and Pentacles. Okay. Uh, okay. The Four of Pentacles, again, is one of those cards that can be looked at from some different
Mhm.
angles. And because it's a four, there is some stability in this card. And quite often, how this card is portrayed is that someone is, holding on to a pentacle. They're kind of surrounded by pentacles, and it's kind of like they're trying to control what they have. So, quite often, it can be seen as this idea of like holding on to what you have, so because you're afraid to lose it.
Mhm.
It could also be like really attaching yourself to like material goods, right? Because, oh, if I have more, then that's going to make me happy. But if I'm holding it and I'm constricting it, well, I can't really be happy if I'm so afraid to lose it. But again, there is this sense of stability there. So how is it that you're looking at the pentacles, for example, because it is the Four of Pentacles, the earth element. So it's those material goods, it's our bodies, it's careers, it's family. So what are you holding on to that you're afraid to lose? And just check in and be like, why am I afraid to lose this? And can I sort of loosen my grip a little bit so that I can enjoy this? And quite often when I see that, it's like, is there something that you're wanting to do? And if you have the means to be able to do that, it's okay to do that and enjoy it and not do it and feel guilty that I've spent the money or that I shouldn't be doing these things. Or if you're so concerned with like accumulating more stuff, well, sometimes more stuff doesn't always make you happy. So this is one of those funny cards. What I There's a card that I absolutely love about the Four of Pentacles, and again, for me, it gives me this completely different um, uh, interpretation, I
Right.
guess, of the card. But in the Yuletide Tarot, it's a Christmas deck. It has somebody sitting on, and I'm going from memory here, someone sitting on a chair holding on to a present and doesn't want to let the present go. And like when you think about the present, that's like your gift, right?
Right.
And I think about me, it's like if you're holding on to your gift so tight, how can you share that with other people? Because you're holding on to that. So when I see the Four of Pentacles for me, I'm like, that's an invitation to share my gifts, right? To share what I have with other people and I'm not holding on to it for me. I could be holding on to it for a fear of maybe other people don't want to receive my gift. So I hold it close. So that's a kind of a interesting way of how I see that card. But it's a kind of a long-winded explanation of the Four
Yeah.
of Pentacles. I think this one is nuanced. Like there's kind of a lot of ways that you can look at it.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Peter?
Yeah. I wouldn't add much. You talked about the idea of holding on to something. And I actually think, and always kind of drawing on the image of the Rider-Waite Smith, because, that's kind of where I go is, and I can't remember who pointed it out to me, but it wasn't that long ago that they're actually holding on so tightly, and the position of the coins is showing you what they're blocking. And they're actually
Mm.
blocking swords,
Uh,
cups, and wands, head, heart, feet, that which moves us, that which we feel, and that which we think.
mm,
So we're so focused on our material stuff that we're actually blocking the existence of the other three elements. So although it's a card of balance and structure, because they're focused so much on that world of pentacles, they're actually not allowing the flow of the other three elements. So
mm,
fire, water, and air. The other interpretation I have, which would fall in the same vein as yours, is sometimes this card says, I have just enough. I have what I need. If it's a focus on, kind of next steps, or it's that, if it's work related, it's I'm exactly where I am. I'm no further behind, I'm no further ahead. I'm kind of I'm stuck, but I'm not stuck in a bad way. I'm just where I happen to be. So I'm going to sit with that like I would with any four. I'm going to sit with that, recognize where I am before, I try and move too fast. So, I'm okay. I'm okay where I happen to be. Those are the only two things I would add to that card though.
mhm. Yeah, I love that.
Hmm.
Practicality wise,
I don't know.
this is a tough one.
It
What would you do? What would you do, Peter, with this
Yeah,
card?
it is a tough one. So I might go to that initial interpretation around, reflecting on what element might be missing.
Mm,
And if it's a recognition that, I'm holding on so tightly to what I have that, I can't think beyond the moment, then I might go and pull out the Four of Swords, for example, to try and introduce the idea of, some of that air energy.
Mm.
If it was, I'm kind of stuck focused on what I have, but really what I need is, the passion to move forward, then I might draw that Four of Wands energy to, kind of help me move forward. So that might be with that interpretation. And then I might look to focus on the element that is not getting through in some ways. I mean, I know this is not a chakra, there aren't three of them. But if I was like, oh, okay, well, which one of these is being blocked? And let me try and do something tangible that might help release the flow of that energy. That might be what I
Hmm.
suggest. So how about you?
Again, very deep, Peter. I'm
Very
impressed.
deep.
No, I
Okay.
think that's a really interesting way to look at that card.
Okay. Well, I look, I hope people think so. I always figure, we try and give, you know, people are watching or listening a different way, to go about each of the cards. We're at the four, so that now means that we've given you 16 suggestions and we each provide you one. So that's 32 practical ways, to be able to use the tarot. And none of them have been about, doing a reading. Like they've all been more tangible or more practical. So there you
Mhm.
go.
There you go. If
Okay.
I were to use this card practically, I might go to the literal sense. And I think when I see this card, really the strong energy about it is like you wanting to do something, but you don't want to because you don't want to give your money away. Kind of like I don't want to spend my money on that thing. So I would say, look at your let's just use a trip as an example. If you want to go on a trip, but you just think, oh, I can't afford it. I don't have the money. Go into your finances, create a budget and see, like, can I actually go on the trip? Because a lot of times it's like, oh, I didn't realize I had that much, or oh, maybe I had a savings fund here. So anything to do with like wanting to purchase something but not really being sure, I would pull out that Four of Pentacles, help you, look into your finances and see if it's actually possible. And if it is, then allowing yourself to actually purchase that or go on that trip and enjoy it, right? Not feel guilty that you've spent the money on doing that. So
Yeah. Yeah, because you have exactly what you needed for the experience, right? No more, no less.
exactly. And I think again, a lot of times it's just our perception. No, I need to keep this close. I don't want to lose it. I don't want to give it away, but then we lose out sometimes on experiences in life. So it's not to say go out and blow all your money, but
Right.
sometimes we just don't allow ourselves that opportunity to do something that we have the means to be able to do.
Hmm.
So,
Interesting. Interesting.
okay, shall we
You know where
pull a
we are now.
card?
Yep. Yep. Because I've got it nearby and I know it's mixed and shuffled, as I'm gonna grab Isabella Rotman's This Might
Oh,
Hurt, which I've used before.
oh,
I do I
yes.
do quite like this deck. So shall I
I'm
go
gonna
first
use.
or
Oh, yeah, you can go
yeah, what are you gonna
first.
use?
I'm going to use the Line Striders Tarot, which is
Okay.
new to my collection. I quite like this deck actually, so I'm gonna use this one today.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
I don't the art or like the deck creator's name. I don't want to mispronounce the name, but I think it's Shiolo Thompson or Ciolo Thompson.
Okay.
It's Siolo. I apologize if I pronounced that incorrect, but it's a really lovely deck.
Okay.
So
Well,
I'm going to use
curious to
today.
see the images. I added a couple of decks to my collection, which I will probably use in future episodes, but I won't quite do them now. This one I'll stick with the This Might Hurt. When I was shuffling though, it was funny because the Three of Swords popped out, and that's we had threes in a previous episode as well, and I think I had alluded to, almost every iteration is three swords jammed into something, and in this case, it was three
Is it
swords
the same
jammed through
thing
a
in that deck?
swan. I think it's through a swan actually.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's like, not enough to kill
that
a
might
heart. We're
hurt.
gonna, yeah, that might hurt. That might hurt.
And the swan, oh, don't they
Ah,
mate for life? Like there's such a oh,
right?
okay, I'll
I
stop.
didn't. Yes, I didn't pull it, but I did pull a three. Funny enough,
Oh, you did? No
I did.
way.
I did. Not a four, but a three. So I pulled the Three of Pentacles.
Oh.
And for those who can see that the Three of Pentacles actually in this deck, because we in a previous couple of episodes ago we had talked about threes, and when I talked about the Three of Pentacles, I talked about the idea of teamwork. And I actually think, and I'm going by memory, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I actually think the title that Isabella Rotman gave this card in the guide is called, I think it's Teamwork Makes Dream Work, or Teamwork
Mhm.
Leads to Dream Work. And the card itself are three people that are putting the finishing touches on a sculpture, which is very similar to the idea of the Rider-Waite Smith, but that the sculpture itself is somebody holding three pentacles. So,
Mhm.
the idea that the Three of Pentacles is very much a card of collaboration. And it's often collaboration in something practical or tangible or routine oriented, or something that happens on a habitual basis. Um, and it's something that often benefits from more hands. So if it was a project that you were doing on your own and you were seeking guidance, the presence of the Three of Pentacles might be stating to you, check and see if you're working on your own. And if you are, whether or not there's the opportunity to invite collaboration. If it's a project that welcomes collaboration, then it might be a nod towards harmonious collaboration, because the Three of Pentacles would be a card of people working well for a common goal that's moving forward. And yeah, the for those that can see the image, I mean, I love this deck. It's really grown to quite enjoy it. Again, you can see where, she's kind of paid respects to the Three of Pentacles in the Rider-Waite, with the idea of sort of creating a stone um,
Mhm.
image, but has really created something quite different as well, and has embraced that idea of working together, of doing something tangible. I think I've mentioned before that it's the card of the artisan, and that's also really shown in this iteration of the card too. So that's what I would offer with the Three of Pentacles. How about you, Bonnie?
Yeah, I love that. I would say the exact same thing. The only thing I might add is a sense of community. So if you're looking, for a sense of community or to work on a project, this could be, that invitation or that nudge to start like if you're already not part of something,
Right.
maybe you want to become a part of something. So this could be you seeking a group to join to do something that, to create something together. I think I'd mentioned before, like, hey, you want to start a band? Like that would be something like that. So I would just add the sense of community, working together, everybody having a voice, not one person taking over the other, really that sense of teamwork and cooperation. So
Yeah.
I like the Three of Pentacles.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Yeah. Thank you for that. All right. I'm
Thank
curious
you.
to see, the image, at least the one, whatever you pull on the new deck. What was the name of it again, you said?
The Line Striders Tarot.
Line Strider's Tarot. Okay.
Yes, it's a really pretty deck. Okay, I'll show you the image. So of course there's those cards where you're like, oh, really? Not that this one trips me up, but again, okay. So this is the Five
Five
of
of Wands.
Wands. So in this particular card, let me see if I can. So it has two, I guess, wolves or dogs,
Mhm.
and they're kind of their mouths are open and
Yeah.
they're kind of coming at each other. And there's a bird who's, trying to get in the mix there. So it shows some conflict, some aggression, um, maybe some competition. Maybe they're both trying, I don't know, dogs eat birds or they try to get birds, I guess. I don't know if they're hunting dogs.
Sure.
Maybe they're both after the bird, which is that sense of competition in a way. So again, when I draw a card that can seem a little bit like how can I use this information to help me? So when the Five of Wands shows up, again, I'm like, okay, what is conflicting right now in my life? Like,
Mhm.
where might there be some conflict? Where might there be a challenge or even a sense of competition? And not all competition is bad because I think sometimes competition, healthy competition can be good because that can help us to bring a better version of ourselves. Not in the fact that, oh, I'm better than you, but like, oh, that person can do it. That's motivating me to know that I can do that too in that respect. So I don't want to bring this like, oh, it's this card of like
Yeah.
arguments and people fighting. I don't really see it that way. I see it as where in your life is there something that's conflicting or challenging. And again, I bring it back to me, like, are my thoughts conflicting? Like, where am I right now? Like, why am I not being able to move forward? Do I feel like I'm competing with that person quite often? I don't want to do things because I'm like, well, that person's already done it. So if I do it, are they going to think I copied them? Like, we're in this world that we don't want to copy other people, but sometimes people inspire us or they just had the idea first. So it's kind of like, where do you sit in that realm? And knowing that sometimes those challenges and those conflicts, we come out of that better,
Yeah.
on the other side. And sometimes conflict is okay. I shy away from conflict. It scares the crap out of me. So I will be like running the opposite way. But there's certain times where that just shows up. So where is that showing up for you, and how can you be the best version of
Mhm.
yourself?
Mhm.
So that's what I see with the Five of Wands. How about, what do you think, Peter?
Yeah, the same. I think when I see the card, I see it as a card of, as you mentioned, conflict, challenge, competition, right? Three C's. But as you also mentioned, it's not necessarily negative in any way. And I think of the competition or conflict that happens in gaming spaces or in sports
Mm,
where it's very rare to find people who are at exactly the same level of skill or competency. And usually, depending on the mindset, and this is where the five of wands kind of comes into play, is if you approach competition as in the it's going to make me better. I'm
mhm,
going to play better. I'm going to be better. I'm going to approach the situation. I'm going to have to bring my A game, because of the level of, of again, conflict, competition, and challenge that's being presented to me. Then I may be the better for it. Or I may also, the kind of shadow side of that is I might kind of say to heck with it and kind of walk away as well and allow the conflict or the competition or the challenge to get the better of me, and it then becomes a five of wands moment for one of the other four people who are kind of in the card. I mean, I know it's not always five people, but that it
mhm,
might, because somebody is going to walk out of that kind of a situation the better for it. And then I
mhm,
think that five of wands says, well, what do we need to do to make this a win-win-win-win-win situation where everybody can actually come out of this, a little bit better. I think I had mentioned to you sort of beforehand is I've taken up tennis for the very first time this year, and I don't know how long. And
mhm,
everybody I play against is better than I am, which is not hard to do at all in the tennis space. But the other side of that is I've been playing on a pretty regular basis, since May. We're in the spring and summer in,
mhm.
in, in the northern hemisphere here, and somebody remarked last week how much better I have gotten. Now they still clobbered me, but they clobbered me by an awful lot less. Um, and I just, I that to me is what the five of wands can represent. It's the
Mhm,
idea that we move ourselves at conflict or competition, or challenge can move us forward. We may not win, but depending on how we approach the situation, if we view it as, oh, well, it's actually moved me forward along my path, then, then we're better for the experience. So
mhm.
not much of a
I
change in interpretation, but
sorry. Yeah, that was amazing. And what a great way to talk about competition, right? Like
mm,
the other thing that I just thought about of the Five of Wands, again, if we think of like we have five wands that are like full of passion and energy, and sometimes we can't pick one. Like it's so chaotic, right? That we can't pick what it is that we want to do to move forward. So sometimes it's about like choosing, like, okay, there's all these competing priority. Like you could look at it that too. That is the sense of competition. It's like there's all these things that I want to do. I'm not going to get any of it done unless I pick one and focus on one. So you could even interpret it from that perspective. Like there's a lot of things that are, it doesn't have to be people all the time, but things that are competing, but things that you're kind of passionate about, right? We're still in that fiery energy of wands. So sometimes it's hard to focus on one because they're all trying to get our attention.
And the image of most cards would lend itself well to that because the wands are usually crossing each other and it's hard to
Yes.
tell where one starts and where one ends. So,
Mhm.
it's kind of saying, well, if you separate the wands and focus on one, then yeah, you've got a better opportunity to
Like putting everybody in their in
yeah,
the corner.
little corners. No, it's great, great way of interpreting. So there you go for a
Yes.
card where you picked a card and you're like, oh, not this one. Some pretty solid information coming out of that. So
Yeah, there's we will have to do an episode on that and those cards that trip us up sometimes. You see it and you're like, oh, that card.
I know, I know, and there are a few. There are a few. So Bonnie, what are you up to, and where can people find you?
People can find me on my website at breathewithbonnie.com. And you can also follow me on Instagram at breathewithbonnie. But yeah, if you want to see what I'm up to, I generally update my website more than I post on Instagram. So that's a great place to be. You can also sign up for my newsletter, and then I always send out if I have any new events coming up or things that I'm working on, I definitely send that out through my newsletter. So, how about you, Peter? What do you have going on? Where can people find you? You're much better at social media than I am.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm not, again, same, right? Peter White Tarot on Instagram and Facebook. I don't post that often, but I'm present there. And then at peterwhitetarot.com, I would invite you to sign up for my newsletter because I am kind of shifting to a new website, and we'll be sending out a regular newsletter with information on upcoming courses, with practical information on the tarot. It might even, include summaries of our episodes here on the tarot table with Bonnie and Peter. So I hope to see you there. Hopefully you'll sign up. The other thing I will let you know is if you are watching us on YouTube and you're looking for an audio option, we are now available both on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. So you're welcome to listen to us there. We'd really invite you as well to share our podcast with others who you think would enjoy the tarot learning, to like and subscribe, and to comment and interact with us. Bonnie and I are happy to respond. And with that, we want to thank you for coming and sitting at the tarot table with us. We wish you a wonderful day or evening, wherever you happen to be, and we'll see you next time. So long.
Bye.